Can you legally wholesale properties? Is wholesaling legal? Let's talk about that for a minute. So, wholesaling, what is wholesaling? Wholesaling is the assignment of a contract. You get something under contract, could be a property, could be a house, a building, land. It could be an asset like a vehicle or a company or anything of value. You get it under contract to purchase, and then you assign that contract to a end buyer, to a third party buyer for a fee. So that is what wholesaling is. Or you could do a double close where you close on it the same day that the end buyer closes on it, and it could even be their funds that is used to fund the transaction. So the buyer comes to closing, you come to closing, they bring the money transfers to the seller, and then you get your spread in the middle. So that is what wholesaling is. So the question is that legal? There are some states that have now defined wholesaling as brokerage. And most states define brokerage as the act of putting a buyer and seller together, or negotiating on the behalf of others, or selling a property on behalf of others. But generally, brokerage is defined in most states as doing the service for others. So specifically, contracting with a seller to go out and find a buyer for their property and charging that seller a fee, or going out and finding a buyer and finding a property for that buyer and charging that buyer a fee, working for that buyer on their behalf, working for that seller on their behalf, with the seller's property, with the buyer's property. Now, as a wholesaler, you are contracting to purchase the property. So you technically have what's called equitable title or equitable interest in the property. So you're actually representing your own property. You're not doing it on behalf of the seller. You're not doing it on behalf of the buyer. You are contracting to buy the property. You're then assigning that contract to an end buyer. So technically, in most states, actually all but about maybe 2 or 3, wholesaling is totally legal. It is not brokerage, because you are not acting on the behalf of a buyer or a seller. You're acting on behalf of your own interest, your own company, for yourself, and you're collecting a fee for assigning a property that you have the right to purchase. So in most areas, that's perfectly legal. In a couple of states, they have passed laws defining that business as brokerage. And even in California, I think you can do 3 transactions a year before they require you to have a real estate license. Now, I don't think it's been challenged legally yet. And I think if somebody does challenge it legally, I'm not sure how it would stand up, because you're not acting on behalf of somebody else for their property. You're taking your interest, your equitable interest, your equitable title, and you're selling that. You're selling your option to purchase that property, your right to purchase that property. So it'll be interesting to see if that gets challenged and how it shakes out. It may become illegal in more states. It may become illegal in every state. So what's the answer? What's the solution? Know what you're doing, know the laws, talk to an attorney, make sure you do things right. Make sure that you do have buyers lined up, so when you find a property, you can sell that property, and you're not representing or misrepresenting yourself that you're going to buy and close the property when you're not. So be honest, have integrity, do what you say you're going to do, make sure that you can actually get that property closed, and at the end of the day, get a license. If you want to be in the business, you want to do this long term, just go ahead and get your real estate license. Then, if it's a property that you can't purchase and it doesn't make sense for you to purchase, or another investor, then you can list the property and you can sell it. People do trust real estate agents. The fact that you have a license gives you credibility, it gives you authority, creates trust with the client, with the buyer, and the sellers. So consider getting your license, and then you don't have to worry about it. But in the interim, make sure you understand the rules, the laws, have your contracts checked by your local attorney to make sure everything is good and everything is within compliance of your state. So as of right now, there's a couple of states where wholesaling is actually defined as brokerage and requires a license. So it's actually illegal to wholesale in some states, but most states it is not. It is still legal and perfectly legal. And as long as you comply with general rules and laws of real estate in those states, you should be fine. So that is wholesaling, the legalities of wholesaling, what to do, and how to move forward with a wholesaling business.